On one side, we have the prankster killer doll that's been hacking and slashing his victims apart for almost 4 decades. A serial killer's soul having been placed inside a child's doll, Chucky now lures his victims to their doom by posing as a harmless toy. On the other side is the creepiest doll since the little tricycle guy from Saw, Annabelle the porcelain doll. Made by a master toy maker in the 1940s, the doll soon became the repository for a powerful demon who has used it as a way to anchor itself to the earth. Today we're featuring a pint-sized pummeling, a shorty slaughter, a miniature massacre, as we find out who would win, Chucky versus Annabelle. Charles Lee Chucky Ray was a notorious murderer known as the Lakeshore Strangler, and we'll give you one guess as to how he earned that title. In an effort to escape the police, Chucky used voodoo powers to transfer his soul into a good guy doll, and has remained trapped in that form ever since. Despite his small stature though, Chucky retains a lot of his former full-sized human strength, and is famous for holding murderous grudges. Immune to aging, now that he no longer has a real body, Chucky has very little to do but revisit his past would-be victims and their families in his quest to murder anyone who ever crossed him. Along with the strength of a normal human, Chucky also enjoys setting up elaborate traps to ambush his victims. Most famously, he likes to pretend to just be a normal doll, only to lash out when his victims' defenses have been lowered. His favorite weapon is a large kitchen knife, but he's been known to use everything from grenades to yo-yos to score his kills, which are prodigious. With a body count of 80+, Chucky is basically immune to fear, and is a full-fledged psychopath that delights in mayhem and destruction, often sidelining his current hunts to go off and kill random victims. He's also very fleet for his size, probably given the fact that the tiny doll body is being powered by the strength and endurance of a full-sized man. But what he really excels at is stealth. With an uncanny ability to hide just about anywhere, his body is also resistant to damage, although the longer he has spent in his doll body, the more human it has become, which means Chucky can bleed and feel pain, though he is never at risk of actually dying from physical damage. If his doll is destroyed, Chucky can simply use his knowledge of voodoo to jump to a new doll. His expertise with voodoo magic also lets him pull off some minor supernatural powers, but mostly just in the terms of temporary possession. If given the time and a suitable victim though, Chucky is capable of performing an elaborate ritual which allows him to fully transfer his soul into the victim's body on a permanent basis. Chucky's physical body is very resilient to damage, and if it becomes too damaged, he can simply jump to another doll, imparting it with vastly increased resilience in the process. However, he is not invulnerable to damage, and can conceivably be melted down in fire or even exploded. Because it's his soul that powers the doll though, getting rid of the body isn't going to do much but slow him down temporarily, as he seeks out a new one. Annabelle is the product of a master toy maker who crafted an elaborate porcelain doll for his daughter named, well, Annabelle. One day, while on the way back from church, the happy family pulled over to fix a flat tire when Annabelle ran out into the road and was hit by a passing car. Her distraught parents desperately called out to anything that could bring their dead daughter back, and capitalizing on their grief and desperation, a demon answered the call by pretending to be her. Overjoyed at being in contact with what they believed was their dead daughter, the couple invited the demon to inhabit Annabelle the doll after it asked for permission. This proved to be a mistake, as the doll would be a foothold for the demon as it searched for a human host. Annabelle soon attacked the wife and gouged out one of her eyes, after which the evil doll was sealed in a closet whose walls had been covered with pages from the Bible. Annabelle brings an array of powers to this battle, as is fitting for a demon from hell. Annabelle's main power is the ability to possess other humans without the need for a lengthy voodoo ritual like Chucky. Instead, all she has to do is wear down the victim's mental defenses through fear and intimidation. And once a host body is found, the demon can leave the doll forever. Annabelle also possesses a powerful telekinetic ability, which is strong enough to snap fingers backwards from a range of several feet. Through continued intimidation and terror, she can exhaust her victims to the point of being able to mind control them, but only for short amounts of time. Physically, Annabelle is very resilient to damage, far more resilient than her porcelain body should be. She also has superhuman speed and is able to very quickly move from place to place but not actually teleport. Her extreme stealth though makes it seem as if she teleports. Often when her victims glance away from her to look at a distraction, in reality she's just very fast and very silent. Annabelle has many of the same physical strengths as Chucky and is very resilient to being physically damaged. However, unlike Chucky, The demon inside Annabelle can't simply fly into a new host, and thus is very protective of its physical host. As a demon, Annabelle also has several weaknesses that Chucky doesn't, namely an aversion to holy objects and true faith, both of which can drive the demon off and even, presumably, send it back to hell. So now that we know the strengths and weaknesses of our two combatants, who would win in this tiny tussle? Right out of the gate, Chucky is going to prove to be all but invulnerable to Annabelle's main power, fear. As a demon, there's actually little that Annabelle the doll can do to physically hurt anyone unless they power her up with their growing fear. The more you fear Annabelle, the more powerful she becomes, until ultimately she's able to possess your body and drive your soul out. Chucky doesn't have a real body though, so he doesn't fear physical harm much, and his psychopathy makes him all but immune to the emotion of fear. Annabelle is going to have a very difficult time feeding off of Chucky's fear, and thus will find her powers severely limited in battle. However, as a demon, she can feed off of Chucky's lust for violence, which won't power her up as much as sheer terror would, but at least keeps her in the fight. Without fear to manipulate Chucky with though, she's gonna have to figure out a way to use her powers to physically destroy Chucky, which might prove difficult. Her telekinetic powers can certainly do some serious damage, but as a doll, Chucky isn't going to be affected very much by broken bones. In fact, he almost relishes the times he does get hurt, and it seems to further fuel his desire for violence. For Chucky, Annabelle is going to pose a very peculiar problem though, because she isn't something that can be stabbed or slashed to death. His talent at laying careful ambushes isn't going to serve him very well here, as Annabelle has a level of clairvoyance that lets her be perfectly aware of her immediate surroundings. That means there's no sneaking up on her. Facing a foe who's just as difficult to damage as he is, Chucky's going to have to think outside of the box to win this fight. And that's where Chucky has an advantage that Annabelle doesn't. As a demon, Annabelle is not very imaginative, and certainly not very clever. Her main power comes from understanding what makes her victims afraid, or what their psychological soft spots are. Chucky, on the other hand, is as clever and inventive as the most cunning Hollywood serial killers, because that's what he actually is. And he'll be able to exploit Annabelle's biggest weakness, the fact that ultimately she's a demon. Getting his hands on holy water won't be a difficult challenge for Chucky, and seeing as Annabelle was once trapped for a decade inside a closet lined with Bible pages, Chucky will be able to recreate the trap and drag Annabelle into it. With her normal formidable powers severely weakened by a lack of fear on Chucky's part, Annabelle isn't going to last very long and will soon find herself trapped once more and at Chucky's mercy. We're gonna give this fight to Chucky, and mostly because without the ability to feel much fear, there's just nothing for Annabelle to feed off. She might be a terrifying demon doll from hell, but none of her infernal powers are going to do much good against a pint-sized psychopath who long ago ditched his humanity. Chucky could very well imprison Annabelle forever if he wished, though given his twisted mind and his desire for a partner, we wouldn't be surprised if he convinced Annabelle to become his new wife. And in case you missed it or just blocked it from your memory, yes, Chucky can have children. So in all likelihood, it's humanity who's the ultimate loser, as Chucky sires a bunch of demon doll babies to murder us all in our sleep. Who do you think would actually win? Who would you like to see face off in our next epic Who Would Win matchup? Let us know in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more great content.